Hey guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be kind of a response or part two from the Prepper Pantry tour video that I did a couple days ago. I saw a lot of comments from new preppers, which is exciting, and they were just very curious. A lot of people had questions, where do I start? How do I rotate? Do you eat your food or do you just store it? And I thought it would be helpful to have kind of a follow-up video on the way that I rotate through, the way that I store things and use them. One very, very important thing about prepping is that you have to rotate through your stock and you do eat the food. A lot of questions were saying, if it goes past the expiration, do you just throw it out or do you just eat the loss? And I'm like, no, eat the food. Something that I heard from the very beginning when I started prepping was store what you eat and eat what you store. And even though I heard it, and even though you guys commented it when I first started the channel, it didn't really sink in until maybe a year later. So very, very important that you're buying stuff that you actually eat, that you have tested and that you like and that you're gonna cycle through. It's not there to just gather dust. And I just want to say that I am not a professional by any means. I've been doing this for about 2.5 years, and I've learned everything about prepping from doing research online and from you guys on YouTube, the people commenting, other YouTubers that have prepping channels. I learned everything basically from YouTube. And so I'm not a professional, but this is just, where I've gotten with my experience and my mistakes. And I definitely want to show you my mistakes throughout the process. First, I'm going to go ahead and show you how I organize and how I rotate, and it's just what works for me. I'm going to use this shelf for example, and this closet here is the closet that I have to go through first. Anything that is in my kitchen has a further out Best By date than what is here in this closet. So this is the spot I come to first, and then when I run out of this stuff, I go to the kitchen. Basically, I label every can up on the top right in Sharpie with the Best By date, which is not to be confused with an expiration date. That was another question I got a lot, is like, what do you do if the food goes bad? Well, most of the time, it's actually not going bad. This is just a Best By date. It's a suggestion for when the food will basically taste the best and retain the most nutrients. It is perfectly edible and perfectly safe to eat canned goods, most canned goods, after the Best By date, as long as there are no major dents or any kind of compromised, seal here at the corners, or up here at the edges. There aren't corners on cans. And I organize where I use the top left and then work from top to bottom, front to back, if that makes any sense. So for example, this bottom right can right here, the can all the way in the back is going to have the furthest out Best By date. So as I pull them off the shelf here, it is kind of inconvenient, but everything like back further there is 2024. So if I put a new can in, I take these all down or just kind of move them forward as I go. And it's tight. I can barely fit my hands in there, but I've gotten used to, that's just how my system works. And so it keeps me organized so that I am using the products as the Best By date comes close. Another thing that I suggest that, maybe it took me a little while to catch on to learn, but go through your Prepper Pantry or your stockpile, check dates, go in like once a week and do a meal plan. If hey, I got to use some green beans, I got to use some of this canned chicken, I have some cream of mushroom that I got to use. Just go by, check the dates, like this one here, August 2022. I got to make some spaghetti. So I'm going to pull this out and meal plan with it. But just kind of make sure that you are pulling things out as they're getting close to the Best By date and just make up some recipe with it. Test some things out. And as you pull things off the shelf, make sure that on your next grocery trip, you replace it with at least one or sometimes two of the thing that you pulled off the shelf so that you are constantly keeping a stocked pantry. And like I said, experiment with your preps. I've been doing the Prepper Meal series, and a lot of things I'm just totally making up. I'm not a chef. I'm not an expert in the kitchen by any means. I'm sure you can see that. But just pull some things together and experiment with it and come up with ideas for meals that you can cook. You know, say the grid goes down, say there's something going on and you just need to pull a few things together. Have some recipes in your prepper repertoire. Oh, and when you're labeling your cans and you have your system in place, if you're like the main head of the pantry in your household, make sure that the other people in your household know how your system works. So at least, you know, say you get sick and they're having to go in and cook and they're not normally the one who cooks or, you know, organizes the pantry. At least they're not just pulling things out willy-nilly and like disorganizing your preps. Make sure they know how your system works so that you can keep organized. When I first started prepping, canned goods were my main go-to, and I think it's a great thing to have because most canned goods will last well past the best by date. The things that you have to watch out for are things with high acidity. Even though there's a lining in the can, sometimes people have trouble with tomatoes and pineapples, things like that. And I'm not saying it's going to happen very soon, but instead of those cans lasting 8 years, maybe at the 3 or 4 year mark, you start noticing some corrosion on the can. So just be watchful. And that's another thing. You have to check out your preps. You have to check on them every once in a while. Make sure that there's no bulging or anything going on with your cans, rust forming. Make sure that they're all in good condition. Don't just put it away and leave it. Check on your prepper pantry. One thing when I first started prepping, another thing, is that I wanted to have so much variety. I was getting so excited about all these canned goods that I was going to try because I'd never really used too many canned goods. And so it was kind of a learning curve for me. I didn't realize so many things actually came in a can, but I was buying like canned squash and canned chicken and Vienna sausage and all these different things, different types of canned beans, and just buying them without knowing if I actually like them. So that's one thing I suggest is before you stock up any large amount of anything, grab a can, test it out, put it in a recipe, give it a try. See if you actually like it. And then if you do, stock up on a bunch of it. So what I wound up learning is that there's some things I just really don't like in a can. And then the things that I do like, I just keep buying more and more of them because I know I'll eat them. I know I like them. And that's very, very important. Variety is good, but you don't want to have a variety of things that you don't really like. As much as I do say that when you're hungry, you'll eat just about anything. But if you're not cycling through them, those will be the things that go well beyond the best by date because you're just letting them sit there. You're not cycling through them. This is going to be a little embarrassing to admit, but I think that I should be completely transparent with you. When I first started prepping, I was one of those that started with the pandemic. And then I don't know, something just gave me this urging. It wasn't necessarily the pandemic, but it was during that time that I just felt this urge to start prepping. But I kept on thinking, oh, the next thing is right around the corner. Oh, it's going to be something that happens during the elections. Oh, it's going to be this. I kept putting dates out there and timelines and thinking it's right around the corner. It's right around the corner. And so I held on to my preps, like with my dear life. I just held on to them and I wasn't cycling through them because I kept thinking, I'm going to need these. I'm just going to leave them. I'm not going to use them. I'm going to, cook all my food fresh, which is good, obviously. But I wasn't going through my preps because I felt this need to just hold on to them instead of actually using them, which is silly. I should have been, using them, not clearing the shelves in my prepper pantry, but using, cans here and there towards different recipes. And I didn't. And I think that a lot of new preppers now might fall into that mindset where they're thinking, oh, something big is coming. Something big is coming. Well, ask the preppers that have been doing this since Y2K when the next big thing is coming, and they will probably tell you that they learned, just make it a part of your lifestyle. Prep what you eat what you prep, cycle through it, and don't wait for that next big event. Just make it part of your lifestyle, and it's so much easier to manage. You can't cling to specific dates because you never know when something's going to happen, but you can't plan your prepping around that event. That's just what I learned. Another thing I learned is that if you have a question about anything, and you post it in the comments of any prepping video, there are tons of people that are totally willing to help, because preppers like to share. They like to share knowledge. They like to share experience. Any kind of question you could possibly have, I promise you there is somebody there with experience that'll answer that question for you. And I really have grown to love this community so much, because everybody wants everybody else to do well. You know, if you see that somebody is learning how to can, or somebody has recently started using Mylar bags for storage, you're excited for them, because the more prepared people there are, the better the world will fare if something does go wrong. That's just what I've learned, is there's tons and tons of free help in the comment section. Take this advice or leave it. I'm just telling you that from experience. Look, I let some of this rice go past the Best By date. I have used things like this, Rice-A-Roni or Pasta-Roni, those kind of things that have seasoning packets in it. Macaroni and cheese, you know, your regular Kraft macaroni and cheese. I have used it 8, 9, 10 months past the Best By date, and it's completely fine. Sometimes, every once in a while, there are some kind of oils in the seasoning packets. It tastes completely fine, and, you know, I'd hate for somebody to actually get sick or something, but I'm just telling you, I have done it. Many, many preppers have done it. If the seasoning packet just gets a little hard, just hit it with the back of a knife or like a mallet or something. Just break it up and it works completely fine. You do want to check for oils. Look at this, chicken fat. That's probably in the seasoning packet, but you want to check for oils and those things. You know, I wouldn't say stretch it to like 5 years past the Best By, but 8, 10 months past the Best By, completely fine. You will live. Okay, another thing that I learned the hard way is that if you're doing grocery pickup, grocery delivery, that kind of thing, check your cans for dents and that bulging, that kind of thing, and check the expiration dates. It always seems for some reason that I get the cans that have the closest Best By dates instead of the further out ones. And I'm sure they don't do it on purpose, but if you actually go into the store yourself and do your grocery shopping, you are able to choose the cans with the furthest out Best By dates. And of course, you know, that's not set in stone for when you have to throw it away or anything, but why not have the cans with the furthest out dates? Obviously, if you're unable to go out to a store, you know, there are people with disabilities or health problems that can't get out there. You may not be able to choose your cans, but check the date when you do get them and check for dents as well. Okay, so common beginner prepper mistake. I'm not really going to call it a mistake, but maybe I would caution you against buying these buckets right away. And the reason is, I think that everybody should spend their money wisely. These things are great, but they are pricey. And for what you would pay for these 30-day food supplies, you can easily stock up on canned meats, canned vegetables, canned fruits, dried beans, pasta sauce, grains, oats, that kind of thing, flour. You can stock up on all sorts of things at a very, very reasonable price before investing in this kind of thing. These are Mylar bags sealed. They're good because they last so long, and you got that long, 25 years. But don't do this until you've stocked up on a good supply of things that you're going to normally rotate through. Now I'm going to do a video on this and Mountain House and Augustin Farm meals, all those kind of things, to kind of show you the difference between them, because I think you should know what you're buying. I do have some Augustin Farms. These are kind of just like staple ingredients, and then I have these things in the number 10 cans. But if I would have started all over again, instead of spending a couple $100s on a couple of these buckets right away, I would have spent a couple $100s on beans, pasta, rice, canned goods, and that would have been probably a better way to start out. In my opinion, everybody should have a good mixture of canned goods that you know that you're going to eat, meats, fruits, vegetables, Chef Boyardee type things, and the long-term stuff like beans, rice, lentils, oats, pasta, all of those things that you can put in Mylar bags and it will last almost indefinitely, 10, 15, 20 years. Do not feel overwhelmed by Mylar bags. At first, when I saw preppers doing this, I thought, I'm going to mess something up. It's probably more complicated than it looks. It's like the easiest thing in the world. Things that you can put in Mylar bags and things that you can't, I can't give you the whole list. But for 100% certainty, you can put beans, rice, lentils, pasta, potato flakes, not the ones that have flavors or anything, not those Idahoan ones. It has to be just plain potato flakes. You can do non-fat dry milk, oats, you can do whole oats, flour, there's all sorts of stuff. Check any kind of recommended Mylar bag website and they'll tell you everything that you can put in Mylar bags. You don't want to put like beef jerky or dried fruit or anything. It's just not going to work. You especially don't want anything with oils in it. But there are a lot of things that you can store up for long term, and it's so inexpensive and so easy to do. Don't be overwhelmed by it. That, I guess, is about all I wanted to say. I'm sure that I left something out and didn't answer somebody's question, but guess what? There's another comment section down below. Leave your questions there. I'll answer them, or somebody else with more experience than me will. And yeah, we'll see what you guys all come up with. Hopefully that video was a little helpful to the new preppers, and maybe even the not so new preppers. You guys have a good rest of your day.